first was introduced to the fact that there was a ghost in the Billy Bishop Museum when two of the gentlemen that were renting the house before we started the Billy Bishop Heritage and Museum Committee. I just jokingly said to them one day, "Is the house haunted?" And they said, "Well, as a matter of fact, it is." And the name of the ghost is Sarah. Now, how they knew that, I don't know. But they passed her on the staircase. They could feel her going up the staircase when they came down and that sort of thing. As things evolved, I began to believe that it did happen because we started having other things happen there. Do you remember what happened in the kitchen, for example, on the first Victorian Christmas? Right.
Yes, yes.
We had a table all laid in the dining room, and the people were milling around eating all the cookies. And
yes, it was very busy, and Sandra and I were working in the kitchen and refilling the punch glasses and the trays of cookies. So we had a little lull in the crowds, and so we started washing up punch glasses. And we're standing there in the kitchen. She's washing, I'm drying. And all of a sudden, a lid popped off an old Harvest Gold coffee percolator that we weren't using. It was tucked away in the corner of the counter space, the far corner, all wrapped up. Nobody was near it.
Yeah, and that was a long kitchen.
That was a long counter. It was probably, what, about 8 feet from the
So you were
sink
really
to the
far
corner.
away from it.
We were far away from it, and nobody was jumping around or anything to make it pop off, and it popped off into the middle of the floor. So Sandra and I just looked, and we sort of...
What happened?
Yeah, what happened? We just sort of laughed and kept on going. But, you know, something happened. Something happened. But wasn't that the year the books were pushed off the shelf as well?
Right.
Upstairs?
That was Gerald. He was in the house all by himself, and he heard this great big thud, and he thought, what was that? And he went running up the steps into Billy Bishop's bedroom, and there were all these books on the bookshelf. They'd been there for years, never moved, and all of a sudden this great big book was on the floor. Somebody had picked it up and gone bang. We kind of got to thinking that the ghost was Sarah Kilburn, who was Billy's grandmother. Very, very handsome woman whose picture is in the dining room on the east wall. But later on, I think it was Gerald suggested, after there were so many mischievous happenings, that it might have been Louie, who was Louise, Billy's sister. And she was the last person to live there. And she might have felt that we were imposing on her privacy, you know, and so she kind of let us know that we weren't welcome. We did a wedding show, remember that? And there were quite a few people working in the house. We were decorating and putting the wedding dresses together, and the cards with the dresses, who the bride was and the groom and so on. And one lady who was helping me, I felt she needed a break. I said, well, why don't you just run upstairs and take a gander? And so she did, and she told me somebody passed her on the staircase going up. When she got to the top of the room on the right-hand side, which was the master bedroom of Billy's parents, and now it's the World War II room, she looked in there, and she didn't even go in. She came running down the steps and said, there's somebody in that room. It's a man, and he doesn't like me. So who was that? Was that the Billy's father, or Billy, or who would? Billy was a sociable man. I don't think it was Billy. They did a ghost hunter thing, one of these programs on television or something. They were trying to pick up the ghostly sounds to see if anybody was in the building. They also said another name. What was the other name?
The man's name was Colin, one of the psychic people that came. This Colin went up the stairs.
Oh, did he?
The vision of him, and disappeared when he reached almost the top step.
Oh,
He
how
disappeared.
interesting. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, dressed in the high collar and the tie. Maybe it was somebody who worked for them. I don't know.
It
I have
could
no
have been,
idea.
or some
Yeah.
association of Billy's. When we did the weddings through the decades, do you remember? Well, Dorothy and I were in the house. We were the last people there. We were checking all the dresses. Everything was okay for the next showing in the morning. Now, in that room was a wedding dress hanging on a central stand, along with some other dresses. And it belonged to Reverend and Mrs. Vaughn of the United Church. So we left and locked up the house. Dorothy had locked it up securely, and she was the first one in the morning. When others came, and she said she went up to the room, as she always checks everything. She was very thorough about everything, and she found that Mrs. Vaughn's wedding veil was on the counter in front of the big windows there, instead of on top of the wedding dress where we had left it. So who moved the wedding veil? I think Sarah did, because Sarah Kilburn, a bishop, had a millinery shop downtown. That was her business. And I think she was going around trying on all the headdresses just for fun that evening.
Could have been.
Judy, do you believe in ghosts?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you've experienced in your house,
Yes.
and so have I.
Yes, I definitely do. I believe in something.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
these restless spirits have attached themselves so strongly, either affectionately or through trauma.
There's nothing been, recorded that has been bad at the
No.
Billy Bishop with the,
Oh,
the
no,
ghost
I think
happening.
we've
So
all
maybe,
thought-
maybe it's again somebody coming back to see if it's a happy environment.
Yes.
I don't know.
And also
Yeah.
to see what we're doing there,
Exactly,
because it was
yeah.
quite an active place. And there were always events going
that's
on,
right.
and perhaps they had a strong feeling for the house and wanted to know, what are you people doing here?
Exactly.
Because,
They just wanted to show their presence somehow.
yeah, I'm here, guys.
This is new. This is happening in our old house,
Yeah.
and we're just going to show that we're still around or checking things out. That's what I believe.
The girls were putting on the maid outfits that you designed so nicely. You just had made them perfect. It's exactly what they were so Victorian. And they were getting changed and dressing themselves up there in the little library, which was the maid's room. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, a hanger jumped off of the rack. Little things like that. And one of the girls walked through the door and felt somebody walked in.
Yeah.
She could feel it. When people just out of the blue report these things, there's something there. They're not, they weren't just making it up because they heard us talk, because we didn't mention them.
No.
And they would come up with these things as well. So there was a spiritual presence. And some people are more sensitive to these people that are around us, and then other people. Some people say, this is absolute nonsense. And but there are people who are sensitive to perceiving these things, and sometimes when my father died, he appeared to me 2 weeks after he died, just dressed as he normally did, and I said to myself, oh, Daddy's here. And I looked at him, I thought, I wonder why he's here. And he said, I've come to tell you that I love you. And then he disappeared. Now that didn't frighten me one little bit, because I know that when we die, we just move on to another realm, and we start going on living forever. And so to me, it was just a happy visit that was permitted, because that was something I needed to know.